We're live. So, hey guys, happy Friday. Today is Friday, February 12th. You're hanging out with my community manager, the community built by, for, and managed by community managers. We have a simultaneous Twitter chat at hashtag CMGR Hangout, where I know a bunch of you are right now. So, hey, what's up, Kristen, Carrie, Jen, Chat Salad. I think that's just a bot. But hey, everybody who dropped by to chat with us over there, remember you can watch the video too and let everybody know. If you love what you're seeing today and you have an idea for us or you want to be on the show, just please head over to our website at www.mycmgr.com. You can click on the button that says participate, fill out a form. That comes to Sherry and I, and we'd love to have you on. It's your show, it's your community. We all work together to keep this thing going. So. All right, enough of that. What do we have for you this week? This week's title is Creating Intentionality in Communities. And, you know, the months following CMAD are always really exciting, and I know definitely some of Sherry's favorite months as she plans out topics because we inevitably have a lot of a big list, basically, of submitted topics that we just weren't able to cover in that 24-hour live stream. And that today is one of those days. So this week's topic, creating intentionality, that's a great big word, in communities, was suggested by Melissa Hill, who we have on the show today. And she is community architect at the Theme Foundry. And based on her experience living in an offline community and how she's been able to apply the concepts of rallying around goals and action steps to her own community. So with that, I'm just going to let everybody introduce themselves, starting with Sherry. Hey, Sherry, what's up?
Hey, everybody. I'm Sherry Rohde. I'm the community manager at Magento, which is an open source e-commerce platform, and also co-produce TMGR Hangout here with Burr.
My name is Melissa Hill. Hi. I am community architect at the Theme Foundry, and I live in an intentional community in upstate New York. That's it.
I'm David Dewall, the customer community manager for Carbon Black.
Hi, I'm Helen Chen. I am the enterprise community manager at Carbon Black.
If I could, before we get started, since Melissa, you brought up the topic and people might not know, could you explain intentionality?
Sure. I mean, when I think of something being intentional, it's something that has been planned out. You have a goal in mind, and you're working for that specific goal.
Very good. Well, hey, everybody. I'm Brew, Director of Awesome with BTC Revolutions, co-producer here with Sherry at My Community Manager and CMGR Hangout. So our first question, we'll lob it out there, is what does creating intentionality in communities mean to you? So that's a little bit of the first question here. So Melissa, you kind of touched on it a little bit on the word intentionality, but I'd love to hear from you and then David and Helen. What are your thoughts?
Well, I live in a unique situation. I live at Eco Village in Ithaca, New York, and we are an intentional community. We have been established here for 25 years now, and we're basically a group of people living in houses in this area. We have a little neighborhood. We have 3 neighborhoods now, actually, and we have sort of a self-governing system. We're part of the larger community, but like we have specific goals that are like neighborhood community addresses and things like, you know, we eat dinner together several times a week. We know all our neighbors. We build projects together. We're very devoted to climate issues and things like that. And living with people in such a tight-knit community like I do is really only possible because we share the same values and we hope to achieve the same kinds of things. And what I have discovered is that these same kinds of ideas can be pulled out and applied to my job as a community manager of online business and wrangling our nameless, faceless people all over the world.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say it much better than she did. For me, because I'm a community manager that deals with customers, certainly, you know, that intentionality is that we want our customers to use our products better. We want them to have solutions to their problems when they have problems. So definitely in that respect, you know, I'm a solution solver, or, you know, a problem solver. I like to say that I'm a connector, right? I connect people to people, people to, you know, questions to answers, and all of that, so that, you know, they can get, you know, their work done with our product, and it serves them the way they want to be served.
Right. I really think this is such a wonderful topic, and I was telling David when he spoke to me about this session yesterday, I was like, this is something that I'm really focusing on, because my internal community, my enterprise community, has recently launched. We've been out there for a month, and David participated in our internal celebration of 1-month anniversary yesterday. And while we were designing our community, while we launched it through our celebrations yesterday, we were very much focused on the goals, why we exist, connecting our goals as community managers to our corporate goals. Why did this community happen? What was the decision that made us choose to create this site and the community? What is the expectation for engagement? And that really has to remain, as community members, as community managers, excuse me, very, very high on our radar, so that we keep everybody going in the same direction, in alignment.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Helen. I think there's so much that you can do when you know the goal of your community and when you can communicate that with them, so that you're all kind of working together towards a common mission. It definitely helps foster that feeling of community, as well as really helps you know that you're accomplishing something because you know where you're headed.
I'm going to quick bring in just a couple tweets that came in. So Rachel Miller said what it means to her is being deliberate with all action and time spent, work with purpose toward community goals. And Crowded Head, thanks for joining us, means creating with an outcome in mind goal, leading with vision and mission and intention. Boy, I think I love the story you had, Melissa, before, just about your community and the community living together and everything else, and it's really fascinating. I know I recently either heard from somebody or read about like an apartment complex that was similar, where it was families that all lived together purposely as a community and took turns. Like, it was only like one night a week you had to worry about making dinner. And everyone ate together, and so it's like they kind of split up a lot of duties, and I thought that was really interesting too. So I feel like I have a ton of questions about that, but we'll say that for a minute and go on to our second question, which is, what are some of the benefits of creating intentionality in communities?
I know for me, for my company, it's about cost savings, right? As we move our support into our community, it can help deflect calls when customers come in and they say, I have a question. If that question that they're asking can be through a whole community, it's possible that there's an answer that already exists, or if it doesn't exist, they can ask it and another customer will answer it rather than our support team. And then that defrays some of that cost of support. I mean, that's a real big example of a benefit for us, is there's that cost saving. On the flip side, for our customers, it means that they may have a faster response, right? Instead of having to submit a ticket, wait for us to get back with them, they may be able to jump into the community and instantly see the right answer to their issue. And if not, maybe a customer will answer their question because they've gone through it before quicker than we would get to it. So, just the benefits for both sides are really cost savings and time savings. It doesn't take our time and effort to have to stop, figure out what the problem is, and answer it. And for them, they can have an answer quicker, faster, without having to, get on a ticket, write an email, or whatever it is.
Right. I also, having managed support communities before, I would also say there's a benefit throughout the company because you're having those discussions openly, and other teams such as product management may be able to get feedback from stimulating those conversations publicly. So,
and another thing that comes to mind is that if we start seeing the same kind of questions over and over again about maybe a specific part of the product, then we can stop and say, all right, is this an issue with the product that we need to fix, or is it something that we need to train better for in our training, or maybe our help within the product needs to be improved in that thing, in that particular item. So it can definitely drive other parts of my company, even though I'm really more customer facing. That knowledge can be used to drive other initiatives in other departments. The other thing we have is an ideation piece where our customers can say, I'd really like it if your product did this. And other customers can come along and say, yeah, I'd like that too, and they can upvote it or downvote it. And that can help prioritize changes to our product so that, if there's a feature that everybody really wants, then maybe that gets pushed forward on our list of things for, upgrades and stuff like that. So something that may have been, in our minds, a third or fourth quarter thing, maybe gets bumped to second quarter because there is an outpouring of customer support for that feature.
Sharing that idea with respect to my enterprise community, one of our goals is better communication and sharing of things. Being able to do this within the company and pushing our teams to communicate within the company and cross-functionally, it's very interesting as we've been launching new spaces, areas, and teams in that different teams are modeling great behavior. So teams that before who were very formal and there was a policy but it wasn't well publicized, they're now seeing, oh, look at the engagement now. Oh, yeah, it was really, really easy to get that. Oh, that question went to that team. Now they understand the importance of the open communication, the sharing of public documents, policies, making them easy as opposed to having the one alias that the question would go to, which is just such a waste of effort, just as it is with the external model. You've got these same issues with an enterprise community.
I think for us, we have a customer community and a support community that we manage too. One of the benefits that I think that you can create when you rally a group of people around a point of difference or a value that your company holds really dear is that people really love working together on something, anything, I've noticed. There's like a good feeling about coming together and working together towards this idea. And we as a company have a very strong idea of what our company culture is, our brand value, that kind of thing. And by communicating that to our community, we not only pull the right people in, but we pull in the type of people that will be really passionate brand ambassadors. And so by keeping that vision in mind at every step, it begins with marketing and onboarding, and then all the way through when they're in our forums, they're interacting with each other as customers and not just the support staff and my team members. So that's yes.
That's great. I'll bring in a couple more tweets here. Rachel says focused energy and stronger ties as everyone is working closely together. Kristen says the channeled focus and energy. Oh, look, and now we have ads. Intentionality minimizes friction, allows for more productivity in whatever is desired. And then this is probably, I think, a comment a little bit from before, but I want to pull it out. Harmony said, my experience living in intentional communities has helped me see community as something much deeper than a group of customers. And so I'd love, Melissa, kind of turn this back to you, kind of like a little bit of an add-on question, which is, thinking about the community where you are right now, right, is like, what are some of the benefits that community has, like Strong Intentions?
Sure. Well, I think before I moved to Eco Village, I didn't know my neighbors, and this may be, sort of like the new America that we live in. But you move to a neighborhood, and maybe you like meet the people who live right next door, but that's it. You may not know who lives across from you, and things like that. And then suddenly I'm living in this situation with 100 other people who know each other really well, and it's good and bad. I mean, like anything else, the good, in my opinion, far outweighs the bad. Knowing people, developing a trust for people, I think, is something that, especially as a young American, I'm not used to. It's a culture that I'm not used to being part of. I have kids, and Eco Village. It's I think it's 170 acres here in upstate New York. That is community land, and then everybody has their houses on the community land. So if you're 8, that's like paradise. You just run everywhere, and it's safe, and it's well maintained. We have part of living in the community is taking on a work commitment. So I work 2 hours a week on community projects. I'm a member of different community teams. This is like a very deeply established community. We have all kinds of protocols for new residents moving in, for renters. I mean, you're involved at every level of the decision making as far as community property goes. And it's really hard, too. It's really challenging to live with that many personalities. But I think it's made me a better person, I hope.
We actually just got a tweet in specifically for you, Melissa, from NYC_Paula. She says, Melissa, how did you determine who in your community were your brand ambassadors?
Yeah, that's something that we're working on right now, too. I think something that we'll just always be working on. You listen deeply, and listening, I think, is probably the #1 skill of any community manager, is just listening to what's going on and being able to filter the noise from those special voices. And customers definitely start to certain customers start to shine through, and you just get to know them on a level that you don't. You definitely have people who come in and then they pop out and you never hear from them again. But especially those, like I said, that I feel really aligned around our brand message. They want to share their work with us. We want to share our work with them. It's more of a exchange than a, than I just bought this at the mall or whatever. And those are the people, and you determine it by listening to them and interacting with them and seeing how deep they're willing to go. They want to go, how much they want to be a part of your group.
I was going to say something very similar, that in customer communities, it's, you usually don't have to look for them. It's the customers that you know by name, even though you've never met them. It's the customers that when you think of them, you don't have any negative thoughts. You're always like, oh yeah, they were super helpful the other day. And the cream really rises to the top for you. Sure, you have to kind of nurture them. I mean, if you just throw a community out there and just let it hang, they're not going to rise up as quickly. But definitely in customer type communities, you'll know them because they're just so active and they're so helpful and they're beating you to the punch. Somebody asks a question and they've already answered it and you just found it. And you see them over and over again. Those are the people that you reach out to and say, you know what, you're doing such a wonderful job. Become part of the team, help us out. And you're doing great anyway. We just want to formalize the relationship a little bit. I know Helen has a different experience in our internal community because we ask for volunteers.
Yeah, it actually, as I was listening to you, I was thinking about, you're absolutely right, in all of the communities that I have managed, it is something that happens over time. So comparing that to my situation, you have a mature community, so you can watch those. but I have a very immature community, so you have to start someplace. It makes sense that as we were starting our community, we reached throughout the organization and asked for volunteers, or what is the other term that you get volunteered for it. So that's how you start. But in any community, no matter how they start, your brand ambassador group will evolve because people come in and they go out. It is always a moving population, and because of just the dynamics of your community.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I have even seen that in the 1 month that we've launched, that people who were not identified as champions coming in, all of a sudden they're popping up, and I'm like, whoa, that's really, really cool. That's so exciting. They got bit by the bug and wanted to jump in and help other people.
All right, question number 3 at you guys here is, how can you involve your community in your goals? So what are your thoughts on that?
I know for me, obviously we're looking to always continuously improve our products, very Kaizen of us. So certainly letting them know that when they suggest features and, vote them up, we actually have a process where our team will go back to that suggestion, and they can mark it as like in progress or next build or something like that, and they get that feedback, and they know that if they make suggestions and they're good suggestions and the community is behind them, that action will be taken. So definitely they know how to improve our goals in making the product better for them. For the support side of things, our goal is to make it easier for them to get support, right? Improve the times that it takes for them to get the support and the quality of the support they're given. So having a place where they can start to ask a question, and based on that start, how do I get help with X? Maybe the community will populate some suggestions, right? The platform we're on has a great tool for that. They start typing in a question, it's going to look at that title and check the keywords and look for other content that matches that, so that it may be before they even get finished really typing the question, there's something that's already popped up as an answer. Or, in the worst case scenario, it's a customer that had the same question. And if that's the case, within our platform, they can say, I have the same question. And we can know that this is a question that's 5 people have said, I have the same question, we don't have a good response for it. And we know to elevate the help that we give for them, or to give it greater visibility within the company. Oftentimes we have questions that'll go a couple of days without getting answers, and based on the question, I can reach out to different teams within our company. It might be the engineering side of the house, it might be the support side of the house, and it might be somewhere in the middle. Maybe a customer's asking for, I have so many seats for this, I'd like to get 10 more, and I'll reach out to our professional services side and get them involved. So definitely working to make things better for our customers is, and them buying into that is certainly working towards, having them being involved with the goals.
I think I had, interestingly, coming from the enterprise side, we have a very similar thing where we're involving our community in the goal and the definition of goals, because before we had a community, we spent a lot of time doing interviews within the company to try to identify the problems that we were having. What were the communication issues? What were the collaboration issues? What was the collateral management and content sharing issues? So everybody's voice was heard going into, perhaps not the individual, but certainly every team was involved with the conversation. They may have stated their problems differently than the person in the next office, but when you bubble everything up to a high level, just about everything that was brought up in those initial interviews fell into very specific categories. And so as we launch, we bring in our community champions, we keep going back to those initial conversations, those definition of goals, to remind people that their input is what created our vision, our goals, the intentionality that then led us to build the community and its infrastructure.
And I think a good example of that within our corporation is that we really had a bunch of different products that were serving the same purpose as a community, right? So we had, people on FlowDoc for conversations that are quick. We had people that were real email gurus, and then we'd have our document storage over here for this department, but another department stored them in a completely different place, and everybody was on the same page about we need to consolidate. I have to go to 6 places to get my job done. I'd really like to be able to go to 1. And certainly within our company, email was getting to be overwhelming. And so that is another goal that they were involved in. Everybody was like, we love less email. So definitely everybody was involved with that.
I think we would all love less email. Like, that's raise your
Most of the
hand.
time, yes, but I'm waiting on a couple of emails and it's driving me crazy, so I would like more email right now.
Melissa, what are your thoughts?
I think that, very similar to how David approaches his community and getting them involved. We usually start out by throwing things out there at a very general level, and then targeting different groups of our community with more specific feedback around our goals. And my dog is going to bark. And then what I found is that it usually ends up with having one-on-one conversations with our different community members or groups of community, that kind of thing. And when you get to the small group or one-on-one level, I mean that's sort of when you have them hooked, I guess. When they're part of your team, they're on your side, and those are the people that you can depend on when you need beta testing or feedback on a new feature or whatever.
So question number 4, excuse me, is, are some goal decisions best left to the organization, and why or why not? So what do we think about that?
I would say definitely. I mean, it's a fine line between being sort of a consensus situation, which is what I live in, and then being able to put out a product. Of course, they're different things. They're different. They belong in different realms, and I think that a lot of the ideas can cross apply for both, but I don't think that it's a wise idea to leave community management up to the group entirely.
No, I completely agree. I always kind of say that being a community manager means that you're a benevolent dictator. Your ultimate goal is to benefit the community, but at the end of the day, you've got to be the person where the buck stops, and you've got to make the call. And I think that definitely there are going to be certain goals that your company wants to get to, and you're just going to have to do it. And I mean, in the past, when I worked in the gaming industry, if we brought out significant changes to the game, and it's not something that we had a lot of control over, we would just have to tell them. It wouldn't be like, we're asking you to, if you want to have this change or not. We're telling them this change is coming, and it's negatively impacting the way that they enjoy the game. And we know it's going to negatively impact the way that they play the game. But in the long run, it benefits the product, and in the much maybe longer run, it benefits the gaming and the game and the community around that game. So there are times when you're just going to have to say this is what it's going to be. For example, our company previously was Bit9 Carbon Black, Bit9 plus Carbon Black. We have since dropped the Bit9 part and just embraced the Carbon Black, and that's our company name. Our products, though, used to be Bit9 product name and Carbon Black Bit9 because there were 2 kind of separate products. And now we've gone and renamed into Carbon Black this and Carbon Black that. And our customers within my community kind of said, how do I say this in casual conversation, because it's like 13 syllables long, this new name. How do I manage that? And do I call it this or do I call it that? And while they were being nice about the way they ribbed us, they did bring up a lot of good points that, it's a mouthful to say, carbon black enterprise protection. And, we said you could call it CVEP and that kind of thing. But they were having fun with it, making little acronyms. One of them was, I can't remember now. But, I mean, they were having fun with it. So they were kind of scolding us for this weird naming convention that we came up with, that it's hard and complex and not easy to say in casual conversations. But they were also having fun with it too, so that it wasn't so overwhelming to them. But ultimately, we made the decision, and they kind of have to deal with it. But on the flip side, we as a company are doing the same thing, where we've had to go through all of our products and all our documentation, our sales materials, all of that stuff, and our sales team is having the same growing pains, where when they talk to a customer, they don't want to keep saying carbon black enterprise protection over and over again. So we needed a way to shrink that down so that it was edible, basically.
I think back to the purpose of your community. That really is our commitment. We need to do it. We as community managers, we're in the middle. Yeah, it's benevolent, dictated, but we're also ambassadors trying to share that message in a way that it can be received well. And we're trying to coach behaviors around it to make this a civilized community to hang out with. I've seen communities where you don't do that, and it's just whatever you want to do. And the tone can change. It can quickly spiral out of control, then not meeting the needs of your either the business, the organization, or the community itself. And that's really not a win for anybody.
Just trying to grab something here real quick over from Twitter for you guys. Where are we? Oh, here we go. So Crystal had a question for the panel. Hey, Crystal, thanks for hanging out with us. She says, how do you get your internal teams engaged in community?
Well, in my case, I have it is an internal community to start with, but I still have to work at the challenges of getting teams involved. Although we did do the going around and looking for champions who would be the local team sponsors for it, as it's human nature, organizational behavior, that not everybody's going to be able to jump in and participate at the same time, right, from the starting gate. And my argument my comment or position when I joined the team, when we started pulling things together, that's not really a problem. It's actually a good thing, because you're almost doing a beta with your teams. It allowed me to focus on really working very closely with initial teams to get them very well set up to understand the community, to understand their own use cases, to integrate their teams. You get them up. We launched with, 3 or 4 teams, and then every week other teams would jump in, because they then saw a model for good behavior and for good online spaces. And we communicate those successes. And I would say I've used this technique with external communities, developer communities as well. Always celebrate publicly the successes. Really give a lot of visibility to all of those accomplishments. If you sit back and you don't do that, you're losing the publicity, the very positive press that comes with it. Take advantage of them.
I think that the other very important point is that for us, we are very fortunate. Here's a company with not one community manager, but 2, which is a rarity in of itself. That for us, our C-suite, our CEO, our COO, our CIO, all of them bought into community. All of them have a good understanding of what community can do and the power of it. And I'm not kidding that when we do stuff within our communities, I will have the CEOs, come back and, like, if I publish something, he'll come back and say, can I get some more specifics on the data behind that? What numbers, how many customers saw it? And that's a rare thing in a company. But if you can get that exec level buy-in, either from your manager or your manager's manager, then it makes it so much easier to get the rest of the internal teams involved because they know it's high visibility, right? So if I'm a guy in support on the bottom rung, if I do something exceptional in the community for a customer, it's very likely that our CEO will see it and be aware of it. And that's beyond me making a point of pointing it out to the CEO or to my boss. It's very, very possible he will come across it himself. And in that instance, it raises their visibility. They become a company, asset. And when the CEO comes down and says, hey, you know what? I saw that response you did in the community. It was great. It was a wonderful job. Keep it up. It goes a long way to getting the rest of the company wanting to be involved.
Thanks, guys. Oh, go ahead, Melissa. You want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say we're a very small company. There's only 5 of us, and we have a community manager, which I think is brilliant on their part. So the whole team is visible at that level, but as community manager, it's my job to make sure they're not they can do their other jobs, and the community is running smoothly without them there. So. I try to pick up the slack and delegate and let them know and what's going on in the community.
Awesome. I got another quick question that came specifically for you. Do you ever intern sustainability students at Eco Village? Have one in Troy, New York.
You should check out the website, Eco Village Ithaca. We have a nonprofit foundation called Learn at Eco Village. I don't know if they have internships available, but we have a lot of students who come through and live in Eco Village as renters who are, Cornell University is here in town, so there's a lot of, it's a college town as well.
Cool.
Good luck.
I just want to go move now. I want to live, this sounds like right up my alley. All right, so number 5.
Right there, don't you? That's what it is.
What was that, David?
Craft beer. You want to know if they're making craft beer, don't you?
Well, if a community has to be all like-minded, yeah, I mean, I would think that the one I would find people would be into brewing beer. That'd be great.
Well, it's in the Finger Lakes, and we're wine country. We have many breweries. Many cideries are a new thing, so yeah, come visit.
I might have to do that. All right. Question number 5. We got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 more questions, 20 more minutes. So math. Number 5 is, what can you do to get buy-in and rally your community around your goals?
Swag.
Yeah, it's amazing what people will do for swag, regardless of what the community is about. Always have swag.
Yeah, certainly. With our community, we have a customer conference once a year. It's our Engage conference, and we actually have prizes, awards that we give out every year. Those awards are like our top partners, top. I forgot what they all are, but we actually have a category for one of our customers in our customer community that we give out this nice little statuette, and it's just because of their outstanding service within the community. And that isn't something that we just decide on. I mean, sure, we can pull statistics and tell you that this particular person was the top in the community, that their content was always getting looked at, that kind of thing, and they performed well. But we also make it a little bit of a popularity contest, right? So that there's that factor of who the customers think the best person is, and usually they align pretty well. But we give them options, right? We say these are the top 4 people in the community who should get the prize, so that they have some buy-in into that. So that does 2 things. That lets them know that we're watching the community, and that we're looking for those outstanding people. And 2, that they can participate in the process of celebrating that one person that did the best job. The person that we gave it to last year, a guy named Dennis Jepa, at his acceptance speech, he said, you know, I appreciate this. I love the community. I love what you guys are doing. But I honestly do not want to be the one that wins next year. I want it to be somebody else. And that's the best attitude in the world, right? That I appreciate you celebrating me, but if I can do it, you can too. And next year, I want you to do it so that we're, you know, both, you know, top people in this community. And that, and he might have been a little embarrassed by all the attention, but, you know, that's probably just a small part of it. But definitely celebrate, you know, the successes. We talk about that, celebrating the successes. I have a, you know, my favorite, one of my favorite quotes, and I have a million favorite quotes, is, you know, wow, and I've forgotten it. All right, when I think of it, I'll come back to it. Can you believe that? Brew, I just stumbled. Oh, my goodness.
Not being at home is throwing you off.
But I'd like to pick up on that, Fred, because I have found that you don't always have to have huge celebrations of stuff. In the last developer community that I managed, we did do smaller celebrations. We had contests where, yes, I did pull together gift bags of prizes at various levels to award those, and there was always hands being raised of, oh, I want to win that prize too. What do I have to do to win that prize? I would get that particular activity I ran every 6 months, and people would be pinging me beforehand saying, oh, I want my name to be at the top of the list, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you have to earn that, right, you know, award. You can't just tell me you want to have it. But I also did smaller awards and rewards for behavior. I was always watching for, you know, we mentioned those advocates or ambassadors who you know they're there. You see them reaching out. You see them, you know, really promoting your brand or the community well. I used to reach out to them, thank them publicly, but also send them small things, small recognitions, the tchotchkes, just a handwritten thank you note. And oddly, those things that we listed of one of some of the benefits, you know, being able to include those in some early launch activities or usability testing, although they're serving a business need, my community development community members, they saw that as huge recognition. So it was filling a need of ours, but it was perceived as a huge recognition and award that we were saying, oh, you are so skilled, we love your feedback, so please, can we suck up a few hours of your time to do this?
Right. And I remember my quote, and the quote is, you build your reputation by helping other people build theirs. You know, so you celebrate their successes. Yeah. And then, you know, since Valentine's Day is coming up on us, there's a quote from the movie Finding Forrester where Sean Connery says to the little guy in the movie that, you know, romance and love is about unexpected gifts at unexpected times. And that's it. You know, if you're going to give somebody swag, don't necessarily tell them you're giving them swag. Mm-hmm. Just say, hey, you know, we've got something going on here. Can I get your address real quick? And send them something. And in my case, sometimes within my community, the customer's already given us our address, or we kind of know where we can send something to a customer. So when they do something, we can say, hey, you know what? Send them a note that says, you're doing amazing in the community. Here's a T-shirt. We appreciate it. And just, that's all you have to do.
Yeah.
And it just so helps.
Yeah. It's a wonderful connector.
Yeah.
I think it's important too to tie that back to your actual goals, though, to kind of emphasize like what it is you're focused on. So, for example, we just did a post celebrating we reached 100,000 members, but I didn't want the focus to be on that as much as what that means, what that's actually done. So we also spotlighted the fact that there's been over 1,000 accepted solutions. So our whole goal with our community is to help the community help each other find the answer to what they're trying to do, and being able to emphasize that we basically consistently exceed the industry average for accepted solutions every single month lets them know that they're working together to help the community move forward, and that they're doing an awesome job at it. And I think a lot of them really rallied behind that and got excited, and especially our moderator team as well, which was really cool to see. Melissa, did you have anything to add on this one?
I was just going to say that I also think that it's a branding issue. I mean, if you can draw the right people in to begin with, then you have a much easier time getting them on board with your goals than if it's the wrong person in your community there for maybe the wrong reason.
Cool. All right, let's roll into our number 6 question here, which is how do you keep your community on course toward the goal? Swag. Okay, now what else?
I think this is really the trick. I mean, this is the hardest part, and even in my offline community, this is the hardest part. It's keeping everybody sort of like focused on the prize, you know, whatever that may be, and everybody's different idea of what the prize is. So, I mean, in terms of, you know, our product goals, we try to make it very much be about like what this will do for you, obviously, you know, what your expected outcomes are as a customer. And there's a lot of detours, and it's just like a constant reminder of, hey, this is what we set out to do, and this is how we think we should do it. Let us know what you think. That's it. I mean,
I think it's about monitoring, keeping your ear to the ground, but also your ear with whoever your stakeholders and sponsors are, making sure that communication path is going. You need to be aware so that you're communicating in the right direction, whether it is coaching within your community, helping them to understand where you are or where we all are with respects to those goals, helping to course correct if the community is doing going in the wrong direction, someplace where we don't want to be, but then sharing the news up so that your sponsors know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I have a big project going on within my community, you know, regarding our customers and stuff like that. And we stumbled for about a week and a half where we hit a roadblock. And, you know, I probably didn't do as good a job as I could have of communicating that up to my boss. And so, you know, I had to do a mea culpa and say, this is on me. I wasn't communicating very well. We kind of hit a roadblock. But at that point, we had found some solutions to those problems, and we are more on track now, but we're still a little behind the game in getting it done. So that, you know, is a bunch of people coming together. It's me, it's other people in our company that are joining in. I've got people from other departments that are stepping outside of their role to offer their knowledge and expertise in helping us achieve this. So, you know, it's a lot of times just asking for help and saying that I'm in a position where I'm stuck. And that can lead to a lot of people coming to help you get back on track and get your goals back in alignment. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of people are afraid to say that. Community managers, I think, more often, because a lot of times we're the only one in the company, the only community manager, and the only one in our silo. And while we connect with everybody else, sometimes it's hard for us to say, I'm having trouble. Fortunately, I've got Helen here who's doing the same thing, and we will have talks where we just talk through some issues we're having to find a good solution. And if that means going out to other people, that means going out to other people. I mean, on my project, I'm kind of weak on project planning. So I reached out to someone this week, and we had a 3-hour session of, you know, really showing me how to build a good project plan. And not only that, showing me how to present that in a way that our execs and my boss are used to receiving that project information, so that it can be communicated more effectively.
All right, keeping us right on track to question number 7 is how do you celebrate your wins along the way?
Swag.
Well, swag's a celebration as a whole. I mean, one of the things that David and I did yesterday was we spent the whole, well, David was so kind to come and join and help my community to celebrate all day, our 1-month anniversary. We had 3 training sessions that David joined, which helped us to have that community chatter, what's going on, training on skills and stuff like that. We had T-shirts for our ambassadors. that really represented the brand. It made them stand out within the company because they're walking around with these bright blue T-shirts that have our logo, our community logo on it. It identified them as, you know, very special people within our community. We had a pizza party at lunch, and our trainings were scheduled around the same time so folks can go from a training session to go get pizza, or go get pizza, come to the next session, or the third session was truly awesome because the leftover pizza came and was delivered to our training session. So lots of stuff happened, lots of people were dropping in. We made a point of having those sessions online as well as in real life so that we were able to connect both our folks in headquarters, but those are also our distributed team.
And we had cake.
Oh, cake. It was awesome cake.
Cake was good.
Yeah.
They really turned out for the cake.
And we had balloons, too.
Oh, the balloons were awesome.
Bru, why are you laughing?
I was just thinking in my head, you know, I like to always just simplify things down. So it's like, okay, so the lesson learned today is for lots of things. It's just like swag, cake, and balloons. So that'll be
and
the
also
first...
that apparently everyone should be part of the Carbon Black community because they've got an amazing swag budget.
Yeah, are you guys sitting under a table, or like is there like swag just under that table in all corners of the office? Ship some our way.
We are hiring. I mean, if you guys want.
If you want some swag.
Want some swag. Oh, all right. Well, I guess, you know, with 8 minutes left here, I'd love to just kind of we always have our kind of tip question here, and that's what other tips do you have to create intentionality in communities, and kind of would love to hear everyone's closing thoughts.
I think early planning, right? You know, a community starts way before you start the community. Internally, I came on board kind of after they had started the talks about the customer community. I was here, though, when they started talking about our internal community for our employees. And so, you know, I wasn't heavily involved with it. I was peripherally involved because I was doing my own thing with my community. But certainly, they defined the goals of the community before they even really picked the platform. Right? They said this is what we want to do and what problems we want to solve, and they outlined all that. And then it was like, you know, we went with the same platform I'm on since it was kind of, we knew it and we're familiar with it. But we said, how is this going to, you know, solve our goals? And that's what we build it towards, is know your goals before you start building your community. You know, it's you know, people joke about build it and they will come. But with a community, it's not like that. I mean, unless there's a reason for people to be there, they're not going to stay. They might drive by, say hello, and move on. But getting that stickiness means that they know that they're there for a purpose. And, you know, it's very purpose-driven community. I think all communities are purpose-driven. It's just sometimes they lose focus of the purpose.
Yeah, and my coaching would be to all community managers, look in the mirror, hold yourself responsible, but you're responsible to reach out, as David said, because you need to create those connections. That cannot be underestimated, the importance of it. I think when I was new to the field of community management, or this role, I was really quiet, and I worked on a distributed team, so I was in my home office, and so I did not spend as much time reaching out. And I have learned that it's critical to your success and to the success of your community.
And I can tell you, just knowing her, I wouldn't have known she was quiet. I mean, she's very, you know, very outgoing to me, it seems, so.
Thanks, David.
Awesome, thanks, guys. Melissa, how about you? What are your kind of closing thoughts, final, like, you know, tips on to create intentionality in communities?
Well, I'd like to echo a lot of what David said. You have to know the goal before the community and the platform is even decided, and I also think that it's important to frame that goal as a value that people can rally around, sort of a flag they can plant in the ground and gather around. I think that it makes it easier for people to see themselves as part of a larger mission, and know your boundaries as well. And this is not anything really new to community management, but I think when people just jump in and they throw together a forum or they throw together a Slack channel or whatever it is, whatever they're doing, without the end game in mind, that it can be perhaps not as effective.
Cool. And I do have one quick last question. I just had to get this in. This is from Courtney. Courtney's actually, oh shoot, I just read this. Hang on. Yeah, so she's studying public relations at the University of Florida. And her question is, what advice would you give to an undergrad in pursuing a career as a community manager? So I'd love to hear from any of you guys to help out Courtney here.
So my suggestion would be jump in and get involved. There are so many communities, not only physical communities, but online communities that you probably participate in. Whether it's a non-profit thing, it's your local church, it is a cause that you are particularly interested in, or something at school. Start engaging, start being part of that community, because it's that experience that will help you to hone the skills of community management. Remember what we were talking about before in looking at who rises to the top of brand ambassadors or community champions, whatever titles. It's those people who actually are engaged. Often I find that people who wind up with community management roles are people who were the champions or the ambassadors. They have the skills. They have that sense of what a community is and how it works.
Yeah, and I was going to say the very same thing. Find something that you're passionate about, find the community around that, and volunteer to help. My first paid community manager gig, they hired me from working as a free moderator in the community. So they said, you're doing a great job for us for free, we'd like to pay you now. And so, you can't get away from that. Mm-hmm. So, absolutely. And any experience you can get moderating a forum, especially one on the internet, and especially one with passionate people where you have to deal with a little bit of controversy from time to time, go a long way. And just one last thought, go Gators. Hey, it's Gainesville. I was in Jacksonville for 14 years. So they're right out of the backyard.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. That concludes today. It wraps up this week. Sherry, do we know what's going on yet next week?
We do, actually. Next week we are chatting with Ted from the Community Roundtable about some kind of key points and findings around the State of Community Management survey that they do. So yeah, this should be a really good conversation.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Well, hey, guys, have a great weekend. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Friday, and we'll see you next Friday. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.